root your sadhana into the hips. Now, usually when we think of spiritual practice, we tend to think of becoming more ethereal. There is this idea that becoming more spiritual is about turning away from matter, turning away from the body, being up in the subtler realms. But what I'm saying here is that we must root down into the lower chakras and specifically into the hips. Now, the body, the reason for this is that the body as our vehicle, as our being, I actually use this phrase body being, because one of the things that I have thought about a lot over the years is how to describe the human experience. Sometimes language actually feels very limited and inaccurate, but for me, it's not actually, in fact, it's not even about the body being a vehicle. That to me does not sound right. It sounds flawed. It sounds inaccurate. I feel that our sense of being, my sense of being, my sense of aliveness, and my sense of body are absolutely one. They are one. So I came up with this phrase, body being, a few years ago. I think it still resonates. It still feels as accurate as I can get with language in terms of describing the human experience. So when I say root the sadhana into your hips, this is actually coming out of my experience of sadhana, whether it is a mantra practice, whether it's a kriya practice, a pranayama, or even whether it is a physical hatha yoga practice. So the hips cradle the base of the spine. The base of the spine is embedded within the structure of the hips. And as we know, every experience that we have is processed through the spine because the spine houses the central nervous system. So whatever sadhana you are doing, your experience of that needs to be processed through the spine. And the hips cradle the spine. They cradle the root. They cradle the sacrum. So I think of the hips actually as a hammock in which we experience consciousness. The hips are this very precious bowl, this very precious container for the rooting of our consciousness into the human experience. So in last week's video, I spoke very briefly about how surya namaskar impacts my skeleton. It's a daily readjustment of the skeleton, and the hips are absolutely crucial to that, because when you do surya namaskar, one of the effects that it has is that it brings the hips into symmetry. And when you do that, now the legs are in greater symmetry, the entire torso is in greater symmetry, and of course the spine operates in more fluidity and greater coherence, because the symmetry of the body now supports coherent experience. So any practice that you have that brings the attention into the hips and actually moves the energy of the hips, ensure that you do that. Make that an important part. Make that a daily part or a part of your practice that you keep coming back to. And bring your attention into it in such a way that it actually becomes this cradle of consciousness that supports every other aspect of your sadhana and supports the way that you move through your day. So when I speak about consumption, it includes everything that we take in through the mind and through the senses. So of course, the material that we read goes in and is consumed. It's an important aspect of what we are consuming. And with so much data being taken in nowadays, I mean, the amount of data we're taking in or that we can take in on a daily basis is extraordinary. There is a lot for the mind to process. This week I've been thinking about reading. I love to read. I love my library. It's one of the most precious parts of my possessions. I absolutely love every single book in my library. And this week I've been reading Tools for Tantra, this Harish Johari, absolutely beautiful book that I acquired in Delhi in January 2018. I can see that because I tend to write the date of the time when I purchased a book so that I have a record. It's something I've been doing for a long time. It allows me to kind of have a particular history with that book and to know what my history with that book is. So, this is an exquisite book and it is incredibly technical. So, Harish Johari, an extraordinary master of Tantra and particularly of yantras and painting and the tantric tools of creating beautiful artwork for sadhana. So it's very, very technical. You don't read a book like this from cover to cover simply to learn the information. I mean, frankly, at this point, I'm not interested in acquiring more information. I do not need any more information on spiritual practices and spirituality at all. So, why am I reading? I'm reading in order to deepen my experience. I'm reading in order to enhance my experiential reality of sadhana. So, how do I read? Well, I'll pick up the book and almost open it at any random page and read a few sentences. And that's it. I'll read a few sentences. I will probably read them again, so I'll read them a few times, the same sentences. So now reading becomes a contemplation. I'll then put the book down and allow those sentences to work their way through my consciousness throughout the day, in the coming days, maybe through the week. And what happens when you approach reading in this way is that the knowledge that is in those sentences then actually starts to interact with my experience of the day. So as I move through the day, different layers of knowledge contained in those sentences will start to reveal themselves as I'm interacting with my life. So now reading becomes a lived experience. The encounter with knowledge through reading becomes a lived experience. And it also means, in terms of consumption, if we think about consuming, I mentioned the amount of data that we can consume that's available to us. If we take this morsel of a few sentences and really chew it, really allow it to be digested fully by the system, the benefit is exponential. The benefit is exponential, and it now becomes entwined in my body being as a reality. It's no longer just information, it's no longer just data. It's no longer even a piece of knowledge that I have acquired. Because when we fully digest something, it becomes part of the system. So it's not an acquisition, it's now actually part of my lived reality. So this is what I'm really enjoying with my reading this week. What if you are the adornment? In many of my previous videos in this series, I've been speaking about adornment in different ways, adornment of perfumes, adornment of jewelry, how we adorn the mind. But of course, my whole sense of adornment comes from dance. from classical Indian dance in particular. And we use the gestures, we use the entire body, every aspect of the body, eyebrows, eyes, hands, arms, the spine, legs, feet. Everything is about creating beautiful geometric patterns, creating gorgeous, exquisite patterns in space. And there is this sense of being the adornment, being the adornment in the universe. It is an incredibly beautiful sadhana. It's an incredibly exquisite spiritual practice, life practice, actually, because at this point, really, when we approach what we call spirituality, when we approach spirituality in this way, it becomes so entwined in life. It becomes part of my breath. It is part of my breath. It's part of how I live. So, being the adornment, whether or not you've trained in dance, it doesn't matter. If you have this awareness of your body, start with the hips. Like I said before, bring your attention into your hips so that you become aware of the weight of your body. Then bring your attention into your center, into your center. And from here, if you're aware of your whole body being, expanding and contracting from the center, as if you are a breath, expanding and contracting. Now you become aware of your entire body being as a pattern of symmetry, as a pattern of geometry. So when you move, it has this quality of beauty about it because you've refined your attention, you've refined your concept of your body, and this allows you to move through the world as an adornment. You bless the space around you. You uplift and nourish everything that comes into contact with you. You become the adornment.